Hi, it's Anne-Marie from Charmed Life Therapy here. If you're enjoying my content, this Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, Justin Baldoni, this whole drama, please do consider subscribing to this channel. I talk a lot on here about emotional matters, my own personal experience. There's a lot of self-help and a lot of talk about rewiring your mind and analysing your own actions and being self-aware and all of these kinds of things, which is why I'm finding all of this drama around the whole It Ends With Us saga so very fascinating from a human perspective. So I'd love to get your support in that and to be able to create more content. So please do consider liking if you're watching right now, and please stay tuned to the end if you can as well, because it all helps us small channels grow, so I'd be really appreciative of that. So it was just a little update today because the last time I made a video, Blake's amendment had just been released to her complaint, and we'd also had their first public appearance, Blake and Ryan, on Saturday Night Live, and the aftermath of that as well, and what public opinion seemed to be too. So since then, I think there's been more things backwards and forwards. The upshot of everybody's responses to Blake's updated amendment was to very much find that the whole thing was very, very washy, and there's a lot of somebody or someone shared a text message, shared a conversation, whatever, and agreed that Justin Baldoni was this person who made them very uncomfortable on set, whatever uncomfortable means. I mean, you know yourself, as a human being, we're often have to do very uncomfortable things as a human being, but it doesn't mean like we take out a legal case against somebody. And one of the things that's interesting now that's come out of it, obviously when Blake's new amended complaint has dropped and there's been these leaked supposed HR emails that have made the rounds, you know, we're kind of jumped to the conclusion now, it seems an inevitable conclusion, that the other people that possibly are involved here are Isabella Ferrer and Jenny Slate. Particularly Jenny Slate, I think. I really feel for Isabella Ferrer in all of this, because I think she's got sucked into something that she really had no clue she was getting into, and she's probably very, very reluctant, because from her text messages to Justin Baldoni, it seems like she's, you know, enjoyed the atmosphere on set, and as a young woman just starting her career, she's found it very supportive and actually quite surprising in the nature of how supportive the set has been. So we've got Blake now asking for a protective order, I believe, in some way, which people are guessing now this is so that names can be kept quiet during the deposition process. I get possibly Jenny Slate, possibly Isabella Ferrer, possibly Taylor Swift, which everybody, of course, is getting really excited about the prospects of Taylor Swift having to be on video deposition, and would we all get to see this and what would come out of it? And of course everybody loves the idea of that, don't they, you know? And I'm still kind of on the fence about Taylor's involvement in all of this. I find it really hard to, and at this point I think we have to ask ourselves, with the best will in the world, can we take for granted whatever comes out of Blake Lively's mouth? You know, we've seen plenty of clips over that last summer and during the promo where she was saying Taylor was doing this, Taylor was doing that, Taylor was all over it, Taylor's input was so valuable. And it's like, well, you know, I don't know how much of this is truth, because Taylor Swift was very busy that summer. I don't know if most people have heard of the Eras tour or not, but you know, I would imagine that kind of took a lot, took up not just a lot of physical effort, but a lot of emotional effort on Taylor's part, and the travelling around the world, and the rehearsing and bringing in the Tortured Poets department and changing up the entire set structure and the routines and all the rest of it. It's like, did Taylor in her periods of downtime really meddle all the way across It Ends With Us? Was that really her priority in her downtime, to be all across It Ends With Us and tinkering in every kind of thing across the board and saying you must fire this person and you must use this and you must do that, and invite Justin Baldoni over and I'll tell him how it is because I'm your dragon and all of this? I don't really see it myself. I'm not saying she hasn't overstepped and there's been things, but I honestly don't believe it's to the level that people think it is, probably. I'm hopeful because I'm a Swiftie, so I kind of have to go to bat for Taylor a little bit. So yeah, Blake's after this protective order basically at the moment to cover some of her witnesses who maybe have, you know, it's sensitive that you're talking in the case of Taylor, you're talking $1 billion corporation, aren't you, and the threat to their livelihood in doing this. And the thing is, I very much, like most other people that are commenting on this saga, feel that nobody will really want to contribute to Blake's case here because it's on to a loser. Jenny Slate won't want to. Isabella Ferrer, sorry. Everybody pronounces the poor girl's name wrong, so I must try and get it right. Isabella Ferrer certainly won't want to, and I'm definitely sure Taylor and her entire team won't want to. So yeah, I guess we wait to see whether that will be allowed, because now it'll be heading in, I don't know, Justin gets another chance to change his story, but we're also hearing that Justin's side have much more evidence to bring to bear, and you imagine Justin was the director of that movie, so he's got all the raw footage. You know, there's probably going to be lots more things that maybe will dispute Blake's side about things. But what's really interesting now at this point that's turned out in the last day or so is this concept of, is all of this about not being able to understand when people are nice? It's you know, this is why I think, and this is why I laugh, because I think it's the universe having a good chuckle to itself. I think this has been some universal grand plan right from the time back when Colleen Hoover decided to write this book and call it It Ends With Us. Because I think it's the universe, you know, showing all us human beings, you know, look what the hell you do to yourself. It all starts with you, it all ends with you. What are you going to do about it? And let's do this big Hollywood blow up and detonate all your illusions about what's going on and bring so many things into question, like the Me Too movement, like the snap judgments we all make, like the concept of who's right and who's wrong and what's fair and not fair. All these human, ego, mind-driven things. I do feel like it's the universe because it's just been a perfect amalgamation, snowstorm, blizzard of a chain reaction of events. You know, when you think back and you think, really, Blake was free and clear. That movie came out. She got away with, like, knocking him out of the promotion to some extent and doing her own thing. The movie was a big success. You know, to all intents and purposes, it could have been left there. Except for Kirsty Floor, bless her, who suddenly thought, oh God, yeah, all these weird things people are saying about the promo. That kind of reminds me about that time I did that interview with Blake. And really, even when that came out, if Blake had have left it alone, had not reacted or whatever it is, this whole thing would have gone away. But that wasn't good enough. You know, there was this literal idea of, well, we have to completely blow Justin Baldoni's life apart. And, you know, they'd had the fun with him on Nicepool at that point. They'd been, you know, they'd dragged him into that and all of that palaver, you know, mocking and humiliating him there. And I can't go back and watch that movie now because I can't even look at Ryan Reynolds at the moment because I just can see hate. I can just see what the kind of hate it must have taken and the kind of self-imposed sense of justice that you would seek to do that to another human being over the course of many, 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 many months. But now we're hearing that there kind of was some HR complaint on the set, but it wasn't against Justin Baldoni, it was against Jamey Heath, one of the producers, that Jenny Slate, who was one of the side characters in this film, made this HR complaint. And it must have been fairly early doors. And some time back, there was something said that early on, in the first day or so of filming, that Jamey Heath had come along and said, oh, we're already getting off to a good start because there's one HR complaint. Which really, on a movie, I guess, it would be unnatural for there not to be some HR complaints along the process and bruised egos and the rest of it is probably a very normal thing. But what we're hearing now is that Jenny Slate made this HR complaint. Now, it sounds like it went to Sony and maybe filtered back to Wayfair. I don't know what the scenario is there. But what it's come out at the moment that it was, and we don't know the exact language that's been used, of course, is that Jenny Slate has been talking to Jamey Heath and saying about this apartment that she's rented in New York for while they're there filming, and she's got this young toddler, and it's not really, whatever it is, it's failed to meet expectations, and she would move, but there's this $15,000 deposit that she doesn't want to use. No small amount of money when you're not like an A-list actor, I guess. And Jamey Heath, bless him, has said, well, let's cover that for you, you know, don't worry about it. And must have, you know, you've got to imagine Justin and him are in this Baha'i faith, which I don't know a lot about, but it sounds quite an intense thing, and they really seem to mean what they say and live what they say and feel all the feelings and make all the feelings known, if you know what I mean. So I think there was like, you know, the occasional praying going on set, and I guess Justin was saging things maybe. So it was this very emotionally charged set, I guess, in a very feely, touchy, not necessarily physically touchy, but, you know, being intense with all of the emotions. So whatever Jamey Heath has said to Jenny Slate, it's been about the sanctity of motherhood, and I guess how that's important that is to make sure she has what she needs, and whatever language it has, it's obviously been something that Jenny Slate is not used to, and for some reason that's triggered her, and she's made a HR complaint. Now, I don't know about you, but if somebody offered to cover £15,000 of my money just so I could move to a nicer apartment, I'd be like, thank you very much. I don't mind taking a few weird words if that's the upshot, you know. You know, I can handle that basically. And it's raised an interesting point, really. Is a lot of this problem that people like Jenny Slate, like Blake Lively, they just don't understand what kind of things a nice person will do. And it's so intriguing that Nicepool is called Nicepool. It's like there's never been so much attention on the word nice, I don't think, and what it means to be nice. I mean, in Ryan Reynolds' interpretation of being nice, you must have something to hide. You must be being nice to cover over all these sexually deviant things that you're up to on the sly. I mean, I find it so sad when you see that amended complaint of Blake's that they're using chunk after chunk after chunk of Justin's own language against him in order to make him look a certain way to feed their narrative. And it's happened all across the board since this whole thing started. And I'm sure it's Ryan Reynolds that is behind the scenes in his little man cave, writing away, thinking, "Oh, what clever little Easter egg can I come up with here, and how can I keep digging away at him and making sure he knows that I know he's wrong," and blah blah blah. It's a bit like that, and it kind of raises my hackles. I don't know about you, it makes me feel really uncomfortable that somebody can be so vengeful over such a long period of time. I mean, I stuck around and listened to some of these podcasters going over the whole 10-hour Blake Lively amended thing, you know, in stages and filtering out as much as I could because a lot of it was boring and much of what we've heard. But that was just the sense I got that Ryan had really, it's like Ryan wrote that, then handed it off to the lawyer and said, now you make it sound legal, but I want all of my things in there, all of these bits I've taken from Justin's TED Talk and this thing here and what organisation he supports and what is said in the past on his Man Enough thing, and I want it all in there because I want him to know that I know what he is and I think he's this, and I'm going to make sure all of the world has at least a doubt in the mind that this is what he is. That's kind of what it is. And I know people will always gel with what I'm saying here, but my perspective on this whole thing now is that even if Justin was some kind of creep, you know, and he did make Blake Lively feel a certain way or whatever, this whole punishment does not justify what's happened here. There's no way it does. You know what I mean? There's people who've done far worse, far worse and got away with it. This thing of destroying his whole livelihood, destroying his future prospects, putting him through all of this public humiliation, all of the money, all of the time, losing control of his entire project, that film, none of it fits a little bit of SH basically, or whatever it is. But I just don't believe it's happened. It's not looking that way from what Blake Lively has presented, and that dancing scene and whatever else scene comes up. I'm just not seeing it. I'm just not seeing what's inappropriate, where on the other hand we've seen plenty of things that are inappropriate on Blake Lively's behalf. And you know how it is. You get a powerful woman that's going around whispering in this person's ear, whispering in that person's ear, being kind, giving the appearance of being kind and generous and supportive and nurturing. You know, she drops a few little Easter eggs here and there about such and such a thing, making her feel uncomfortable. You will get other women say, oh, I'm really, really sorry about that. Oh, is there anything of mine that kind of relates to that? Did any of that sort of thing happen to me? And start creating something in the mind about something that never even happened. It's like Chinese whispers. That's how these things go, and that's how they blossom. But and that's the thing, really. Blake Lively is used to powerful men in her life. She's used to, as a younger actress, appearing on set and maybe just being treated like an ornament or whatever it is. So she's developed in her mind over time this thing of, I have to sneak in, tell them what they want to hear, and then I have to steal power wherever I can get it. That's the only way to do it. And maybe she's been encouraged by Ryan Reynolds and certain other people that that's the way to go. But it's not. That's not her right. And I think there's a certain hardness in her, or she's witnessed certain hardnesses. It's like I've had clients, rapid transformational therapy clients, where some of the scenes they go back to in the past, they've been a tiny child and witnessed like the adults in their life, you know, really being quite brutal or aggressive or power hungry or trampling on other people, and them as a child have seen that happen and think, oh, is that how you have to be in life in order to get your own way? It doesn't feel great me seeing my dad or seeing my mum do that, but it does seem to get them what they want. And you know, you see enough of that as a young child, and it starts to be a belief that you have that that's the way to go. And there could be some element of that here. And she has this snarky relationship with her husband where what we see in public, if that's the same as what's going on privately, they're constantly snarking at each other. And it's like just constant sarcasm, isn't it? But you never learn anything real about something if you always respond to a feeling with something snarky or self-deprecating or joking. You know what I mean? It's not a relationship of substance. You know, and I've said it before in another video, I think that day, that dancing scene when Justin Baldoni is just wanting them to make eye contact, because that's his vision for the scene. He doesn't want talking, he just wants this steady gaze. And she's trying to make eye contact with him, and emotionally, I just don't think she could handle it. That is the upshot of it, that she's not secure enough as an actress to be able to suspend disbelief and it not be her that's making eye contact with this very handsome man. And I think possibly feelings on her part have, you know, wavered in his direction or whatever, and he's kept holding her at bay and being nice and trying to respond in the best way possible to this woman with power behind her, wanting control of he's been navigating a very fine line all along, and he's been too soft. He's definitely been too soft and too nice. That's kind of part of the problem. Because you know, people think that in order to be a good person, you have to be this concept of nice. You know, the people that you interact with always have to either get their own way or get what they want when they deal with you in order to be a nice person. But that's not being a nice person, that's being a people pleaser. And there's a little bit of an aspect here that maybe he does judge himself quite harshly for past actions with women, so he's trying too hard in a way. And the thing is, sometimes people in our lives need pushback. They need somebody to stand the ground and say, that's not appropriate, it's not what I want, you're on my project, this is my needs, this is the way it's going to go. You know, sometimes people, for the good of themselves, need you to push back or not do something for them or not fulfill all of their needs and not let them get their whole way, because you're doing the other person a disservice, because they never learn anything when you fulfill all of their needs and give way and the rest of it. They're never going to change or grow in an emotional way. So this kind of, you know, there's, like I say, it's this perfect snowstorm of things that have happened on this set. that like it's almost like universal in its nature of how each little thing had to fall into place at each particular time in order to make the whole thing snowball in the way it is. And I do think there's a big aspect of that Blake Lively, Jenny Slate, Ryan Reynolds are suspicious of niceness, of people just being so warm, so open, so receptive, so gentle in the wording, or so flowery in the wording, however you want to put it. They don't understand people that actually would genuinely feel that in their hearts, because they're either not used to it, they've never seen it, or they think of it as something that's weak. It's all aspects of that going on. And there's a lot to be said that a lot of this problem right now is people misinterpreting niceness for being hiding something shady, and also for it being something of weakness too, and to be taken advantage of. And I do think Blake Lively walked in there and just thought, this could be my Deadpool. And there's that aspect of, you know, how deep did this plot go? Did she, you know, when there was like one or two maybe things early doors where people said, oh, I'm not into all this touchy-feely stuff and this saging me and saying flowery language to me, it's making me uncomfortable, that she's thought, well, it could be tweaked to be a certain way, that, and there's all that business of, is there a morality clause, and if he's seen a certain way, Justin, does that mean the rights to the sequel are suddenly available and could go back to Colleen Hoover, who in turn would pass it along to Blake Lively? We just don't know that aspect of it. But again, what I want all of you to take away from it is not about the, you know, we must get vengeance, it must happen this way, she must be ground to a pulp and all of this. That serves nobody, that. It's what are we going to learn from this? What are we going to take away from it? You know, and the Baha'i religion, I mean, it's lovely if they all believe in being so nice and lovely and generous and all of that. But they kind of need to have like a little codicil that says, like, sometimes you are going to have to push back against people, because we all have equal rights. You know what I mean? It's no good being so kind and so nice and so sweet that you give away your own power too. That's no good to you, because your power is needed in this world too, you know. So it's all right being nice and you know, trying to empower women and the rest of it, but sometimes a woman needs to have some pushback in order to empower it, and so does a man, just the same. There's no difference. So yeah, I continue to be my poor friend Anne visited yesterday, and we were going to talk about something else, maybe a separate side project we're going to do for YouTube. And she made the mistake of bringing up, oh, you know, Sam doesn't do pop culture, so she was like, oh, it's a bit like, you know, whoever in Hollywood is whatever. And I went, oh, don't get me started on that, because I'll be making you watch a podcast, and I'll be making you do this, and I'll be making you, you know, I had to show her the Kirsty Floor Little Bump interview. I can't almost watch that anymore. It's just so painful to me to watch. But yeah, it's very interesting that there could be an idea here that a lot of this boils down to a misinterpretation of niceness, thinking niceness is something to be suspicious of and must have an ulterior motive. I mean, fancy being Jenny Slate and somebody offering you $15,000 to cover a bad investment you made in terms of this apartment, and you turn it into a HR complaint just because they maybe kind of use language that made you a little bit uncomfortable. You know, it's not like he said, you know, go over my knee and let me slap your ass and then I'll give you. It's not. It's not exactly that, is it? You know, it's just a bit of like, oh, that was a bit strange religious language that I wasn't entirely comfortable with. You know, most people, most average human beings that are at a Hollywood play would probably think, oh, I don't think I'll bother going to HR with that, you know, or would think, oh, that's a bit unusual. I might have to process that in my mind a bit, you know, but how nice of them to offer to give me $15,000, you know. You wouldn't be thinking to make an issue of it. You'd just either say, oh, yes or oh, no, wouldn't you? And thank you and be on your way, basically. So it is interesting. And again, of course, we, you know, us on the outside, we don't know entirely everything that happened. We can only say what's coming out of the woodworks and judge on it as it unfolds, and keep an open mind to some extent. But yeah, it continues to be interesting and fascinating in a human perspective. So yeah, again, please do consider liking and subscribing, and thank you for staying to the end and watching. And please do come back and visit the channel and some of my other videos on self-empowerment and topics like depression and anxiety and how to heal your mindset and subconscious mind reprogramming through the use of hypnotherapy and rapid transformational therapy. I do offer free introductory calls if you want to book time with me, and the link will be in the description, and there'll be some other free resources there too, which I'd love you to make use of. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you later.